In the last few years, there's been a growing concern to address the youth mental health crisis. And it's true. Our youth are experiencing mental health challenges at alarming rates, here in the United States and across the globe. Just look at some of the most recent statistics that we've managed to capture in previous videos. Nevertheless, with teacher burnout, shortages, and retention rates being consistent points of discussion amongst school and district leaders, it is also time to turn our attention towards supporting teacher mental health in the workplace. Unfortunately, despite the need to support teacher mental health on a global scale, Emily Hernandez 2022 confirms that, while there has been a steady increase in mental health awareness and support for students in recent years, current research indicates a profound lack of programs and interventions to support the mental health and wellness of our educators. Hi, I'm Caitlin Daniel, host and creator of Sci-Fire Leadership. And if you're new here, welcome. I specialize in empowering leaders as they navigate how to best support mental health and well-being in our schools. In today's episode, we're going to discuss 7 practices that you can incorporate into your leadership approach to better support teacher mental health in the workplace. I am convinced that by supporting teacher mental health through school leadership, that our schools will then be better equipped to support our students who are in need of mental health care and support. Let's get started. Practice number 1 is to strengthen your EQ. EQ refers to your emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is defined as an ability to perceive, assess, and manage the emotions of oneself, another person, or a group of people. There's been a lot of research done in the last decade that focuses on elevating one's emotional intelligence. Because for many of us, this isn't a skill that we inherently have. It's kind of one that is cultivated through self-awareness and reflection and the ability to empathize and perceive emotions, whether they are happy or distress, in another person, and being able to perceive them and help that person manage those emotions. Now remember, with all of these mental health videos, I am never asking for my school leaders to be mental health professionals. But there's a difference between being a mental health professional and being someone who has the capacity, empathy, and understanding to support others in their mental health. There's a really great book that came out earlier this year called The Color of Emotional Intelligence, written by Farah Harris 2024. And it's going to be a book that I review on this channel in the coming months. But this book is a great read but this book provides a great place to start if you're interested in strengthening your emotional intelligence. They go through what emotional intelligence is and break it down with each chapter about what that would look like in your leadership practice. Practice number 2 is to lead with vulnerability. Remember, one way to support the mental health of others is by being vulnerable yourself. When you're in a leadership position, regardless of your position, you are in a position of power. And with that comes inherent underlying power dynamics, whether they are conscious or unconscious. They leave an impact with your school staff and your educators. So by leading with vulnerability, what that means is to be open around your mental health experiences and challenges that you're having. As a leader, being vulnerable helps create a school climate where your educators feel like they can come to you and express their concerns and needs openly with you because you're going to listen to them and understand. It also helps build up empathy between yourself and your school staff and can strengthen your trust and relationships with your staff members as well. And being vulnerable doesn't mean you have to share every negative moment or challenge that you're experiencing. Remember, only share to the level that you're comfortable with. But also by leading with vulnerability, you can share your boundaries, your workplace behaviors, your workplace habits, and the supports that you put in place to take care of your own mental health. Practice number 3, create a humanizing school culture. There's a lot to unpack with the word humanizing, but really what it comes down to is seeing, hearing, and validating others within the realm of your leadership. And a couple ways to create a humanizing school culture is through check-ins and support. Do you have frequent check-ins with your educators other than evaluations and staff meetings? Are you taking the time to do formal and informal check-ins with your school staff? Or are there others on your leadership team that can help you with that load and making sure that someone on your leadership team is having those formal and informal check-ins with your educators? A humanizing check-in really just means that you're able to hear, empathize, and see the person in front of you who is trying to have a conversation with you. And remember, check-ins don't need to always be serious, but they need to be critical points where if someone were experiencing a challenge or a concern or was having an issue, that they could come to you for support and understanding. If someone is at their lowest and they're coming to you, make sure that you've helped cultivate a humanizing school culture. That way, when that happens, you can sit with your staff member and you can say that you listened, and I mean truly listened, and that regardless of what is going on in their lives, that you see them. Practice number 4 is developing relational trust. Trust is very important to your leadership approach. In fact, I would argue that trust is often the foundation of one's leadership approach. Without trust, there is no communication, there is no vulnerability, and there is no supportive, inclusive school culture. There needs to be well-established trust between you in a leadership position and your school educators. So make sure that you are putting trust at the forefront of your efforts to develop it with your school staff. Great opportunities to do this is through those formal and informal check-ins and through staff meetings and professional development opportunities. Make sure that you create frequent space and opportunity for your staff to engage with one another, with their leaders in their departments, with the departmental team, and the overall admin leadership team. Practice number 5 is support teacher boundaries. Now, as a teacher, I feel like I read online, heard from social media, and heard from other teachers and my admin team about how many boundaries and what specific boundaries I should have in place as an educator. However, when you're often trying to implement those boundaries, many things either cause you to break them, or you feel like you're being too strict because you're trying to uphold those boundaries, but you're not a team player at the same time. And it can be really confusing because teachers have to navigate students, parents and families, community members, and school leaders. That's a lot of people to navigate. Therefore, boundaries are crucial and important for a teacher's mental health. So one way that you can support teacher mental health in the workplace is by supporting those boundaries that they have put in place. Now, there's always different circumstances and different scenarios. But if you want to work on effective communication, developing relational trust, and supporting teacher mental health, make sure you're checking in with your educator first to help understand the full picture instead of just hearing one side of that picture. And if a teacher has emphasized that they have that boundary and it's written down on a syllabus or they've communicated it via email to parents and students, make sure you're supporting that teacher. Because one way to detriment teacher mental health in the workplace is by not supporting their boundaries and not supporting them in small acts that they're taking to protect their own mental health. And that goes along with practice number 6, which is to validate teacher voice. You have no idea how often I have heard from teachers that their leaders don't care about them. That sometimes they fill out a survey and they, when they were younger, they felt like that was when their voice was going to get heard. I felt that way when I filled out surveys, and then nothing happens. and then nothing happens. And then we might talk about the same issue again, give another survey to seek teacher voice, and then nothing happens. Stop asking your teachers to give you their experiences, perspective, and opinions if you're not ready to validate those voices. Do not seek teacher voice if you're not ready to hear what your teachers have to say. Because once you've sought their feedback and their experiences, make sure that you validate them. And I don't mean validate them by letting them know that you heard and read what they said. Validate them by changing your culture, your climate, your policies, and your practices. Make what they're telling you that they need a reality in your school and across your district. And lastly, practice number 7, invest in preventative mental health training. And I'm not talking about making your teachers take another training. I am talking about investing in your mental health training. By investing in your own mental health training, you can learn more about what mental health looks like, how it presents, and how you can support someone, whether it's a loved one or a staff member who's experiencing a mental health challenge. Because it's not if this is going to happen for someone, it is when this is going to happen for someone. And as a leader, you might be the only person that person who is struggling comes to for support. And if that's the case, how are you going to meet them? How are you going to validate them and understand them and empathize with what they're going to? And how do you go beyond that to actually give supports and resources and reassurance that it's going to be okay? Investing in your mental health training is very, very important. And I think it's something that we overlook in our leader preparation programs. Mental health is a big component in schools. And I think leadership might be the key to helping out with that. All right. If you've liked this video and you'd like to see more educational mental health content for school leadership, please subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel. We have videos releasing every Tuesday. Until next time, happy practicing. Take care.